Hello, I'm Sally Mills from Lavolta and welcome to Digital Bullets. We put together a series of questions about issues and developments within the digital sector. We've asked some senior people and industry experts to give us their point of view. We've also given them 20 seconds to answer the questions or they get the chop. Hope you enjoy. Last year, 2008, saw two major but different developments in mobile: the Android operating system from Google and the phone from Apple. What will their impacts be on the mobile sector over the next 2 years, and which will be the greater?
That's interesting. I think right now we think that the Apple iPhone has got about 1.1% of the worldwide market. It's about 1.5% of the handsets in Australia. I don't think it's going to go an awful lot beyond that. It might get around 2%, maybe 3%. Apple changed the game by saying the user experience is more important than the features and functionalities, that you can throw a whole lot of stuff in a mobile phone, but if people don't know how to use it, it's a pointless experience. Apple, in their iPhone, really took the desktop computer and put that functionality in the hands of people on the go and out and about, with the smarts to go from 3G to wireless to Wi-Fi back and forth. What Android's done is Android said, we don't have to worry about the hardware. We can give you an operating system which is open source, upon which you can do beautiful things. I think the question is going to be, are we going to see a beautiful Android operating system on a beautifully user experience structured handset, in which case I think we will have an incredible game-change product. We've got a new phone coming out from Apple in the next 6 to 9 months, and it'll be interesting to see what that does. If I had to back anybody long-term, I'd back Google, only because of their size and the fact that they're open source.
I think operating systems aside, from a consumer's perspective, they don't really care what's powering their device. It just demonstrates the level of commitment to mobile industry, with these two companies investing such significant amounts of money. But more to the point, I think it actually redefines the term of a PC. And these two devices, or these two operating systems now help us actually bring to life the true personal computer, the one that sits in your pocket.
I'm a big fan of the iPhone. I bought one as soon as it was released, and I believe that what Apple has done is very much the future of mobile entertainment. And whether or not Google's product gets traction or not, I'm still a bit sceptical. But what we've actually seen with Apple's product, because they actually control it on an end-to-end basis, so it's from the user interface to the applications as well as the actual billing, they're able to provide consumers a much more compelling and easy-to-use product. So I'm a big fan of the iPhone and its applications.
The introduction of the iPhone has meant that people are consuming more data on mobile phones, but the majority of mobile phones are still dumber phones at the bottom end. That will shift, and the majority of handsets will be smarter phones like Android and the iPhone. And I think that will happen very quickly. I think it will happen in the next couple of years, and that will make the mobile web pretty ubiquitous.
Well, I wouldn't like to lay bets on which will be the greater in terms of Android versus iPhone. At the end of the day, in its most simplified form, both of those two developments have changed the way in which consumers can interface with the internet and other content through a mobile device. So they've taken a real step change through both the device, the applications that are available on it, and the types of connectivity that they enable and the user experience. So the most fundamental is actually going to be the change in the relevance of the device to somebody's day-to-day function. And the main purpose of both devices is it's not about making a phone call anymore. And that's I think, where the big shift is. Which one has the greater impact? I can't tell yet, because I don't think we've really had time to assess Android properly, and we don't know what Apple's going to do with the iPhone next.
Well, listen, one is a language and another is a device. And while they're separate at the moment, they may not be separate going forward. The key here is the development of smartphone technology with great screen size. And that's the real innovation.
I wish there was a better word than game-changing. I really can't think of a better one because it's quite descriptive, even if it's hideous. But Android, not particularly convinced that that's compelling. iPhone has been fantastically successful. So for me, it probably means mobile internet is coming faster as a result of the iPhone's success. And clearly it is probably the best device in the market. So I think it'll drive the category.
I don't know if I want to speculate which one to be greater. I think that really depends on how it continues to develop, what the next generations are. It's obviously had a huge effect already. I think it really depends, again, what that next generation is like, what sort of applications to develop, how they improve the usability. I mean, the iPhone's actually a great mini computer in a sense. It's actually as a phone and SMS device. It's not the best thing in the world, but people are buying it because of the functionality that they get outside of that. So I think it really just depends on how it continues to develop.
I think the iPhone will win out. I think the Google Android is going to be for Google lovers and absolute tech heads. I think that you can get pretty much all of those apps on your iPhone anyway, and if they don't come preloaded, you can download them through the App Store. The iPhone is it's a great device, and I think it has revolutionised mobile handsets in the world. But like I said earlier, there's only 2% of that 21.5 million handsets in Australia are iPhones. So I think iPhone will win out, although, of course, Nokia and the other handset manufacturers are going to start to come to market, already have, with their equivalents. I think Apple will win out, though, through form and function.
Well, I think they'll both be important, but I think iPhone's already demonstrated its success, clearly with its penetration and the level of application and content support that it's driving. I think Android has every chance to be successful. My view is that fundamentally Apple is more than just a great operating system, the iPhone. It's about design. It's about the interrelationship of that with other products. And therefore, I think in the end it will be a very compelling play. I suspect beyond Android and beyond iPhone, a lot of the other plethora of operating systems available today will begin to diminish and consolidate, and we'll end up in a much more consolidated marketplace.
I think that there's going to be more uptake of the iPhone. And why? Well, first of all, it's more elegant and sort of more iconic. I think that Android's exciting, but I think the challenges are going to be twofold. First of all, it's deep linkages into Google and the application base, so it makes it a little bit less open, even though it is an open platform. The good thing about a Google linkage is, of course, things like Street View, which has massive functionality and power. And I think the other reason it's going to have less of an uptake initially in the developer community is because applications, developers cannot charge for applications that they develop through Android, at least now. So while they can in the iPhone, in the Apple Store. So I think there's going to, I think you're going to see the implications, more development initially on the iPhone.
Yeah, look, I don't think it matters who's the greater. What's important about Android and what Apple did with the iPhone is they're open platforms that enable publishers to easily create content that works in the mobile space, and therefore they're good for consumers. And all round, the 3G iPhone's been great at getting pricing to become sensible for consumers. So I think the important thing is the open platform, not whether Google wins it or Apple wins it or somebody else wins it. I'm sure Microsoft will have their own play too. So long as we're creating open platforms for consumers, that creates the right kind of environment for something that's really sustainable. So the individual brands matter less than the open systems they've brought in.
I'm not sure either would be greater. They'll impact in different ways. The great thing about the iPhone was that it really showed us the future in terms of consuming content, accessing the mobile web. On a device that's designed for it, that was comfortable to use, that made sense from a consumer perspective, bearing in mind that the total number of iPhones actually sold in Australia is still it's a relatively small proportion of the phones around. The main thing is I think it was just a fantastic poster child for the mobile internet, because it was easy to use. Lots of people, you see people wandering around with them. People start asking, can I see that, can I show that? And I think it'll breed, obviously it is breeding, a range of these smartphones that have that form factor that make it very, very good for a mobile internet browsing experience. Google, of course, is very, very good at most things that it does. The fact that the Android platform is going to be open source, I think, will then drive a whole range of new services and applications that we haven't even thought of yet. So I think both will continue to have a major impact and certainly speeding up the adoption of the mobile internet everywhere.